Setting up your meeting custom streaming service.
Okay.
All right, let's let them in.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Trash Talk number 17. 16 more than I thought it would actually last, so we must be doing good. My name's Ian Maverick. I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, transmitting around the world. We got 2 hours of Trash Talk. I'm going to go around everyone in the room and we're all going to attempt to tell each other what we're up to. If we're not up to anything, just say hi and we'll move on to the next person. Just some heads ups. If you could put your cell phones on mute and try not to say bad language like fuck. Only I'm allowed to say that.
Shit. Don't say shit.
The rest of us aren't potty mouth like I can be. So, all right. I'm going to start with my good mate Peter Sutinski. Tell us how Tanya Assembly's coming along.
Hey, everybody. You can hear me? Am I good?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. I'm on the Trash Talk remote site. I'm on vacation out at the beach, so I am on a crappy Wi-Fi. Okay, I'm good. Okay, so Tandy Assembly. Everything is looking good. We have a full slate of Tech Track speakers, so we're all full with that. Looks like it's going to be. We have a great sampling of people there. People like John Linville is going to be giving a in-depth cocoa discussion on the internal workings of the cocoa. We've got Arno Puder, Satya Hyberling, Josh Malone, and Tim Halloran. So all with great in-depth topics to help you program and continue working and modifying your TRS-80s and keeping them running. So hopefully everybody will be able to join us for the tech track. And we have a number of speakers for the for Saturday and Sunday lineup as well. So it's a full slate. So things are looking good for the show. Of course, we always need to talk about the COVID issue right now. There are no restrictions that we know of that will take place at the time. But of course, as we've seen with this virus, things can change, especially with the Delta variant cruising around the country right now. So who knows? But whatever the restrictions that are defined by the venue and the local government, we will follow. So if it turns out that we need to wear masks, we'll wear masks. If we need to social distance, we will. So whatever they say we need to do is what we will follow. But right now, everything looks good to have the show, and we're moving forward.
That's great. I think it'll probably. I can't see anything stopping it because although the numbers are all over the place in the United States, at least you guys seem to have settled into a COVID normal situation, so that's good. Any cocoa people here? Not yet. Okay, I was wondering if there was any news on when how the Cocoa Fest is coming along. Before I move on to the next one, I want to make a shout out for my friend Elizabeth Hayes in Canada, who was going to be here but unable to make it. She's a recent Cocoa 2 enthusiast and enjoys messing around with her machine. So maybe see her at a future Tandy Assembly or Cocoa Fest. So hi, Liz, if you're listening. Pity you couldn't make it today. All right, moving along. Peter Phillips.
Can you hear me here?
Yep.
I'll talk about a little bit of work I did a while ago on an adventure game to get it working. See if I can share the screen here. Pick a screen. All right, everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay, so Patrick Barreau handed me a disc, which was a graphic adventure game, and give you a quick look. It's called The Sledge of Removal, or however you pronounce it. And the problem was it wouldn't boot on the TRS-80 GP emulator, or problem number one. So, open bag, turn on flashlight. It's working now because this is the fixed version. Anyways, we'll come back to the game itself. So this is like a typical debugging session. I took a look at this, verified, yes, it doesn't seem to boot. It doesn't boot on the Model 3 as well, but let's look at the Model 1. And it was puzzling because what you see here is a trace. So up until this point here, this is what the ROM is doing, the Model 1 ROM. It sees the data request ready for the last data byte, which it retrieves. And as soon as it retrieves it, it stores it, and then it jumps to the boot block at 4200. And the boot block disables the interrupts, sets up some registers, hits the drive cell again to keep the motor spinning, and then pretty quickly loads up the sector register and issues a seek command to seek to its data on the drive. And the problem was that this seek command wasn't being run because, according to the emulator, the floppy controller chip was still busy, which puzzled me a bit. If you look at the math here, according to the emulator, the time between when the seek was issued and the last data byte was about 178 T states, and on the Model 1, that's maybe around 100 microseconds. And this is where I was starting to get a little bit worried. I'm not sure why the Model 1 ROM does this the way it does, since although you've got the last data byte, on the disk itself, there are still 2 CRC bytes to be processed to know if there was an error or not. But being the ROM, they must have figured, whatever, just, save a bit of code, don't check for an actual error condition. So that means that once this data byte comes in, 2 bytes have to go into the chip before it could even possibly know that the command the read command is finished, and if there was a CRC error or not. Which, by my timing, it's about 64 microseconds per byte, which is 128 microseconds. So, in theory, the chip really shouldn't be ready at this point. We went and ran some tests on an actual machine, and these numbers didn't vary too much. Now, at this point, I really wasn't sure what to do. You can't just sort of like make the emulator read things faster. That wouldn't be right. The one thing is that the emulator doesn't give the floppy drive very fine-grained control. It only updates every 32 microseconds. So even if it was perfectly right, there's too much slop. It could still be a little bit slow or a little bit fast. So the solution was, I can bring up the source code, was to decide that because of this 32 microsecond slop, if a command comes in, but the chip is busy, we'll give it one more chance to execute the command. So this is what happens when a register gets written. We deal with the data registers here. Check for some percom stuff. I wonder about this. Come back to that. I'm going to think about this code a bit. But anyways, what happens is that if the command's an interrupt or the chip is in the idle, the not busy state, then we read the command. And so what I just added is that, okay, we'll we'll log this as a lost command, which is something I added because obviously I didn't, the log wasn't indicating to me that the command was ignored, but I'll give it one more chance. And then if we get back to the update loop for the chip, then we check, okay, if there is a delayed command, then we'll execute it. And with that fix, which hopefully doesn't break anything else too badly, then Sledge of Ramul is booting. So the next problem was is the Model 3 version. So let's try Model 3, and it doesn't seem to do anything. Now this one was a little bit more obvious if we go into the disk viewer. If we look at track 0, there's sector 0, which is an FM sector, and the rest of it, what's on the track, is nothing. So there's actually no Model 3 boot block. So it's like, well, problem solved. It wasn't meant to work on the Model 3. End of story. Except, as my brother pointed out in some searching, it does say it's a duo loader, which is a rather odd thing to say. And if you go and research some of these other graphic games or ads, they do boot on the Model 3. So after looking around, I think we found a download. There was another one of these graphic adventures, and it worked dual boot now on the Model 1 and Model 3. We don't really have any decent disk editor, so what I had to do was I kind of manually took the boot block from the other one and merge it into the DMK image until now we've got a new version just called Sledge 13. And now it boots on the Model 3, no problem. So, and that would be the end of it. But there's kind of a question is like, well, what if, I mean, if the boot block was missing, maybe there's some other special Model 3 thing that was missing, and does this really work? And but there's no walkthrough for this adventure that I know of. I searched around. It came maybe a little bit late in the day. And bag. Turn on light. Yell. My brother figured that out. I could never figure out what you're supposed to do here. So then I really got into the weeds and decided it's like, well, I have to figure out how to play the adventure. But I found that a bit too tiresome if you go crack. And if you look around, you're in a maze of tunnels, which is the standard fun part of the adventure. You can look south, look north, look east, west, and actually there's the actual sledge there. So at this point, I got out the debugger, do some memory dumps, do a little bit of tracing and find where the commands are. I did, and some idea of what commands are possible. And I also, let's see if I can load this up. I did find one memory location, which was the current room you're in. And so this thing now shows us that we're in room 2. If we go east, we're in room 12. Look south, we're back in room 1 again, look north. So the final thing was just to go through, figure out what all the puzzles were, and I ended up with, I've got a full walkthrough, but I also then created the final map. So if anybody's interested and wants it to cheat on the game, then I've got the full map. The fun thing about this is that although the maze is pretty frustrating, it's kind of big, it is all kind of physically mapped out that if we're in room 16 and we go east, then we end up facing south in room 18. And if you go north of room 18, you end up facing west in room 16. In other words, they're all sorts of corridors. They're not really like, the kind of the cheat ones. I think there's one room 24, where if you go here, you loop back. And yeah, that's about it. The only thing dangerous in the game is the jail, is that there's only one way to get out of the jail using an item. So if you get lost in the maze and end up in the jail, then you're stuck forever. So that's the story, is like it doesn't boot, and then in the end you end up having to map out the whole adventure to make sure that you can complete it all and get the high score. And now everyone can play it to their heart's content.
So
And that's it. Typical bug.
Peter, that's cool. It's always admire your tenacity with these things.
Insanity.
do we know if Mr. Wetmore is still with us? Has anybody been in contact with him in the recent past?
He's an unknown to me. But
how about we? I'm just looking who to go on to since it was mentioned previously. George,
Hi there.
you have anything to add?
I've just been working a little bit on TRS-80 GP, sort of making the rendering faster in authentic mode. It's not technically faster if the whole screen changes, but I added some sort of stuff in there that looks to see if the screen is actually, changed in the last 60th of a second. And it only draws what it needs to. So that means if you're, kind of sitting there in TRS-80 GP on, say, the DOS prompt or something where maybe nothing's changing, or maybe the cursor is just flashing, it's only going to update a small portion of the screen. So a little lighter on the CPU. It doesn't change the flat out speed, but when it came down to it, when I was working on the MX70 stuff, I decided I couldn't stand to think of that thing redrawing the screen every time when the printer's sitting there doing nothing. So something had to be done. That's pretty much what I've been up to for the past month or so.
Good to hear from you. How's it looking for you Canadians anyway? Going to Tandy Assembly, is it not looking good, or?
Well, the land border's still closed until the 21st of August, or until at least the 21st of August, going south. I think we'll let people in from the US starting the 8th of August. So I think you can still fly in, though, but I'm not sure, as long as you submit yourself to various rituals.
We're letting people in from the US, but we're not letting them leave. That's our solution to the population problem. We need more people in Canada, so anyone can come in.
I can't come in. I've looked into it. They're
So
excluded.
George and Peter, does this bode that you will be coming or not? Or
Doesn't bode too well.
I reckon it'll be a last minute thing. I reckon it'll be, just in the nick of time, they'll probably say, yeah, go, or they'll reduce the reasons that you can't travel to such a low amount that basically anyone can travel. So I think it's probably a safer bet for people north of the border coming to Tandy Assembly.
it's not going to be the same without their late night, hacking sessions, TRS-80 hacking sessions on the floor of the exhibit hall.
Well, exactly. Yeah. This will be this is a pretend Tandy Assembly without the international,
mock
without
assembly.
the trial run for 2022. So no, of course it's a full Tandy Assembly, and people in the United States should make every effort to go and make it a success, because it won't have the international fly-ins, I would imagine, this year. So make it a good one.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, George. Jay, what's up, my man?
You're muted, Jay.
Press your mute button.
Been busy building my Model 4P power supplies. That's about it. I'll be there.
Jay,
I got a room.
Jay, can you show that off a little more, Jay? What do we got there? 2 power supplies on there?
Power supplies. This gives you 12 volts. Gives you everything you need, and the little small one gives you 12 volts for the video. And one of the guys who bought it already put it in his Model 4, and he sent me pictures, and he says he loved it. Says he's it went in with this. It went in. He wired it, and it worked perfectly. He says he's just happy as a pig in the shit, as they say.
Right.
Yeah. So that fits in the 4P and the 4?
Well, you know what? It will fit in a 4 and a 4D. I put one in, and it will fit. But I'm having Neil Bradley make me a small, tiny board that'll go in, and now I'm going to give people an option if they want the full board or a little tiny board. But I'll have pictures later on. And I should have all this stuff at Tandy Assembly because I'm going to be there. I got my room, and that's about it.
Yep. Cool. Thanks for that, Jay. And for reminding us about the room thing. Just to anyone watching this between now and Tandy Assembly, pick up the phone in the old traditional sense and call them when you want a room. Don't worry about the online portal. You need to call them.
And you gotta mention that it's for Tandy convention or something. I told them I said, Tandy Assembly, and they didn't know what I was talking about.
They never understand me when I'm saying anything to them. I have to sort of speak at half the speed that I speak at for them to understand me.
Well, you have to speak English.
No, I have to speak England. Good on you, Jay. Thanks for that. Arno, hi.
Hey guys, glad to be back. Had to sit out the last 2 sessions. It's busy summer. I booked my flight to attend the assembly. Sasha did as well. Alaska Air changed the reservation on us, and I heard this happened to other people as well who were flying in. It's a little bit upsetting. We were supposed to fly out on Sunday evening, but then they changed us to Sunday early morning. And I said, well, first they said, well, I'm sorry, we have to apologize. We have to change your flight. But the good news is we found you another flight. And they said Sunday morning. I said, well, that's not really helping us. So we're staying one night extra and flying out on Monday morning now. It's just because it doesn't make sense to just fly back Sunday morning.
Is it a connecting flight through Fairbanks or something? Alaska Air?
Seattle. Well, I know that there's one Lawrence. I know that he managed to get a non-stop flight from San Francisco, but that one is fully booked. So the only other flights we could find were connecting flights, and we're coming via Seattle now, Alaska Air. But anyway, so we're coming. That's the good news, and hoping that the Delta variant doesn't make any funny stuff. Anyways, on the technical side, so you probably seen, where is the card that I've been, here it is. So I'm going to be presenting a Pocket Tris on a technical track, and I did talk about it before. It's basically just a hardware emulation of Model 3, Model 4. It has a VGA connector, it has a PS2 keyboard connector, it has a 3.5 millimeters audio jack for input and output. And it has the 50-pin connector here. So if you wanted to connect external periphery, that also works. There aren't any updates on this one here, but I recently came across, there's a Chinese manufacturer called Liligo. They are pretty well known in the maker scene. They build little development boards, and I found this little tiny thing. It's a lot smaller than Pocket Tris, as you can see, but they also have a VGA output here. There's the ESP on the back side here, and there are actually even 2 PS2 connectors here, one for keyboard, one for mouse, and they even have like the audio jack here on the back side. So it just took me an hour to port Pocket Tris to this here. So if you want to have a Pocket Tris Lite version, you can get this little guy here for $12 from AliExpress. The 2 things you cannot do on this little board is it doesn't have the 50-pin connector, so you cannot connect external hardware. And also the audio jack is only for output. So you can do game sound, but you cannot do, like you cannot play a WAV file and then do like a C load, like the opposite direction. That only works on the full board. But one thing that it does have that Pocket Tris doesn't have is, it's hard to see, it's an SD card slot on the bottom here.
Oh,
So for SD cards. And I thought, well, so Pocket Tris integrates Tris IO. So you can do the same thing on Pocket Tris. They can also do with Tris IO. So you can mount fret images via SMB shares. So that of course also works on this guy here. But I thought, well, what the heck, if there is an SD card slot, why not then add support to Tris IO for SD cards? So I did. So on this thing here, you can also just use the regular micro SD cards and put the regular fret images on, plug it in, and then you can just boot off the SD card.
are you going to be selling them or not?
I do have a few extra boards for both Tris IO and Pocket Tris. So if you're
You have them
interested,
there at TND Assembly?
I will bring some to Tandy Assembly. If you want one, maybe ping me so I know that I know roughly how many I should bring along. But I'm also happy to ship them out if you're not coming to Tandy Assembly.
All right.
The other news, so since I added SD card support to the Tris IO firmware, of course, the next logical step would be then how about adding SD card to Tris IO itself? And so I did this for the Model 1 version of Tris IO. So this here is the Model 1 version of Tris IO. Gave a bit of a facelift. It's more compact than the old version. I added an edge card connector here. So you can just also connect use the regular ribbon band connector. It still has the 40-pin connector up here. But I guess the big addition is here that underneath the ESP, I fitted the SD card slot here. So you can also then just use the regular SD card. Another thing that I added for this new updated version here is the little trick that Matt Boyton came up with to reliably intercept both memory read and write with the ESP, which allows me now to do full floppy disk emulation. That does not work yet, but I hope to get that done by Tandy Assemblies, which means you could on the SD card or the SMB share, you could put floppy disk images, not just the fret hard disk images, and then boot off the floppy disk. So that's the plan for hopefully Tandy Assembly then. And that's about it. So I have extra boards for all of these toys. So if you're interested, just send me a message. I can bring them to Tandy Assembly. I can ship them out. Let me know. And that's all I have.
Magic never stops, Arno.
Sorry?
The magic never stops.
Well, just incremental steps,
You know what's amazing about those boards? Like, the limiting factor is the size of the connectors and how small they can get, right? It's like they're just dominated by the connectors.
Yeah.
Arno, what was the name of the board that the smaller board?
It's the LilyGo, and I can put a link in. I'll look it up and I'll put a link in chat here later. The company is called LilyGo, and it's called the TTGO VGA 1.4 connector, but or board. That's what it is here. And again, the two things it cannot do is if you connect an audio cable here, the Pocket Tris, you can play a WAV file from your phone or laptop. And then under Pocket Tris, you can, for example, type C load, and then it samples using analog to digital converter the analog signal, and you can see the flashing asterisk. So this does not work on this small one here. And the second one, yeah, as Pete mentioned, it doesn't have the 50-pin connector here. So if you wanted to connect external hardware, this of course is not possible with this little thing here. But I added support. There's a compile option. You can if you know about ESP, you can just set a flag and you can configure then the source code to be compiled for this board, and it will just work out of the box. I'll look it up and paste the link in chat in a second.
Arno, will any PS2 keyboard work with it, I guess?
Yes, yes. So this development board also has a second PS2 connector for mouse, and don't know yet what to do with that. Maybe convert the mouse movement to cursor keys or something, or joystick. I haven't quite figured out what to do with the second one here. So I just basically ported the Pocket-Tris firmware to this development board. That's all I did so far.
Great.
Yeah, that's all.
Nice work. Okay. Next, Quentin Barnes.
Hi. Not too much to report. This last month, my daughter was home from college, so we did a whole bunch of Pokemon Go, and I did very little TRS-80 stuff. I did manage to make my travel plans for VCF Midwest and Tandy Assembly, though. So I should, for the first time, make it to both in theory. That's all.
Hear from you, Quentin. Good to hear you're going to come along to Tandy Assembly. Pity I can't come along and meet you.
Yeah, be great.
Okay. Al. Hey, mate.
Hello, everyone.
Oh.
I haven't gotten much more done on my bench. It's actually a little cleaner, but I've been shopping around for a mixed storage oscilloscope. If anyone has any suggestions, wouldn't mind having a logic analyzer.
Yeah, there's probably a few people who do a fair bit of electronics. They might be able to tell you what they use at work or something. So if anyone sees such a device, maybe send Al a message via the Trash Talk Facebook page. Let him know what you're using and how you find it. Probably a good start.
I think I saw that Peter Bartlett picked up a relatively affordable Rigel scope with a built-in 16-channel logic analyzer. He seems to be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's actually one of them I'm looking at now. It's like $898. It's 100 meg 4-channel scope with 16 channel. That sound like it?
Yes, that's the one. Yep.
Okay.
Good-o. All right. Thanks, Al. Thanks for joining us today. Vernon. Hey, mate.
Oh,
How's your Model 4 going? I can see it there behind you.
well, that's one of many.
We all have more. We all have more than one. Unless you've got 4 Model 4s, are you really a Model 4 enthusiast? I mean, come on.
I have about 20.
Nice.
You got just about half of the. What state are you in? Philadelphia, is that right?
Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's close. Considering I'm not from there, and I've managed to memorize most of the.
I'm in Maryland, so I'll be able to take one of them.
What have you been up to, Vernon?
Nothing much.
Enjoying the summer, eh?
Well, we had a little family reunion.
They're always
on the
fun.
4th of July. I was
Yeah.
down and see my son and his wife.
I like family reunions because there's always the crazy uncle that says the wrong thing, and now I'm getting to the age where I can do that job. So,
I imagine you're the crazy uncle, Mav. You're the crazy uncle.
Yeah, I'm the one who can stop the conversation in its tracks by saying something as it is. So
Yeah, how does that go if you look around and you can't find the crazy uncle? It's you.
You're
yeah, as the saying goes. Cool. All right, cool. Thanks for that, Vernon. Anything else you wanted to mention, or just say hi?
Hi.
Good on you, mate. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the show. Ken.
Hey guys, how's it going? Is that a pink shirt? Pink? Good. I like it. I lost audio for some reason. Uh,
Pink shirts very often. So yeah, that's
there we
pink.
go. We used to have Pink Shirt Fridays at Radio Shack. So anyway, yeah. So very, very Radio Shack there, like the tie. I'm still working on all the stuff. I'm chasing the shiny objects and waiting for some parts to show up that have been, I guess, delayed because of the fab problem. And I wanted to mention Al Digilant makes a really nice logic analyzer. 32 channels might be a little bit better than the logic analyzer that's built into the Rigel, I think that you were talking about. You might take a look at it. It's Digilant and the Digilant Discovery. Anyway, so I'm waiting for parts for a lot of projects, and maybe next time I'll be able to report on some of that sort of stuff. But that's about it from here.
Cool. And I'm working on that stuff you asked me about the other day, but you know how
I know how it goes. Yeah, no problem. No hurry. Whenever you can get it to me, that'd be great.
We're having a run of good weather here in Melbourne at the moment, so I'm sort of trying to get as much other work done as possible. Once it starts raining and getting cold again, then I'll get back to that. So
that works for me.
No worries, mate. Thanks for coming along.
Yeah.
Were you trying to say something, Peter?
Yeah, I just want to say, for those of you that are not on the Discord, I just wanted to give a shout out to Ken. He's been doing awesome work helping people troubleshooting their 8-inch Tandy systems. So he's the man to know. He's the one that did the tech training at Tandy Radio Shack back in the day, and he ran that department for a while. So if you have a Tandy 8-inch system that's giving you problems, and most of them will be, join us on the Discord, and Ken has been really willing to help. So I want to thank Ken for that publicly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
And I'll say it in the same way, but differently. Geez, you sure drew the short straw on the Tandy systems to help out with, Ken, because I think it's probably fair to say not most of them are running badly, but all of them. So
man,
never going to be short of people with questions.
That's not true. The 8-inch systems are awesome.
Oh, I know they're awesome. I think of the 8-inch systems like bullfighters. They sort of live hard and die young,
Oh no.
Them's fighting words, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8-inch systems rock.
Yay.
Mine's pretty good most of the time. How's that for a backhanded compliment?
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. Good
no
on you.
Fun, Ian. They all are good. You know that.
Yeah, that's good. I know. I'd still never turn down another one if it came my way. They just not they're thin on the ground here in Australia, unfortunately. Super expensive and not many around. All right, Ken and Val, thanks for that. Timothy. Crack-a-lackin'.
Yeah, I got to lean over with Mav on that one. I actually gave a presentation to a retro group that didn't know anything about TRS-80s. In the slide that started the 8-inch systems, I found a nice picture of a skull that said, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." And then show several pictures of 8-inch projects I've done. But to be fair, I did show Peter's excellent exhibit. I think it was Tandy Assembly 2018 of the desk and the Model 16, and said, when you get it all together, they can be pretty nice. But boy, it's hard. So I've been prepping up
they've broken a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I've been working, doing a assembly language tutorial for a Z80 in Tandy Assembly, and probably will have a table. I'm working pretty hard to try and come up with something else to do because I have a Coco exhibit, but nothing for the TRS-80 yet. So I'm trying to come up with something because I don't want to just have Coco. stuff. So a long time ago, it seems like now, because we've been in COVID a while, I did a mod for the Coco 2 that changes it to use, like, you can plug it into a USB power. It'll run the entire computer on USB power. So I did that, and I'm going to show it off at Tandy Assembly. But hopefully I'll have something interesting software related on the thing. Have a Model 3 or 4 or something with me. And I'm driving from Pittsburgh. So if anyone needs rides, or one of the things especially with folks that are super far away, if you need a computer brought or something, let me know. Or you can get me on Facebook or Discord. Because I'm driving, but
same with me. I can bring up computers if anybody needs them to.
Yeah, if you're coming in from another country, well, it doesn't sound like many are, or super long ways. But to demo something, let me know, or Jay. But yeah, enjoying the summer, and really looking forward to Tandy Assembly. Hopefully, it's going to go without a hitch.
Thanks, Tim. Good. Thanks for joining us. You know, that microphone of yours there, at the angle I'm looking at, it looks like a 1920s telephone. You know, that
that's
type of, that's what it looks like. Yeah, that one.
I noticed that too.
I say. Okay.
And the light on your ceiling gives you an angelic halo, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know what's more pink, his shirt or his face.
Okay, Jay. Good on you, mate. All right, moving right along. Dusty, what time is it in England?
He's sleeping.
He should be sleeping.
Yeah, I had to get up rather early, 1:30. It's 2:45 in the morning at the minute. You're looking very capper, Mav. What's the die?
Those that know me know I take a little bit of pride in my presentation, and since I run these things, well, I feel it's in my interest to dress above everyone else, so that's why. and there's so few opportunities these days to dress the part, so I may as well do it now. So that's why.
Yeah,
we want to see a tuxedo.
Most impressive.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Just a couple of quickies. Just to remind everybody that the September edition of TRS-80 will be out hopefully early September. So if you've any articles or bits, Arno's info would be super. I'll try and get a link off. Oh, I can see it. It's on there, and I'll put a brief photo on of the TRS-80 bits. That'll be super. I've just had an email from Igowitz in Spain. There's been another TRS-80 tournament, which is quite interesting. There's loads of photos, so I'm going to include those. Just to remind you also, the competition closes the end of November. So time's getting, I know it's only August, but time is starting to approach rather quickly, I've noticed. Sid Trug. Have you heard anything from Errol there, Marv?
Rockbank's here, and he's closer to them. Aaron?
Yeah.
It's not much of it. It's not much of anything anymore, is it, Aaron?
No. He tried lots to do it, but it has been. I mean, it was about 3 or 4 years ago that I went down to the last meeting, and he was trying to convert it to an online kind of thing, and I haven't heard from him for a while. I need to ring him up and find out what's going on.
I think. Go on, Matt. Sorry, mate.
I was going to say, my understanding was that it was only sort of living on its last few breaths, and those that were running it were wanting to continue their the meetings and things like that, but then once the pandemic hit, it kind of took the last gasp out of the sales of the thing. You never know; it may come back. Their website is pretty good, and there's a lot of information there. But as far as an entity that gets together regularly, it's not so much. I don't know. I hope it comes back, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't.
It all hinged on the death of their president there, and after that they didn't really have enough people to continue being set up the way that it was. So they had to sort of reorganize a little bit, and I stepped in as the temporary secretary there so that he had enough of a quorum to let it continue. But it's kind of dissipated since then. They used to have meetings every month. They were okay to go down to. It took me forever to get down there and to get back, but it was fine to sort of see the fewer people. But yeah, they disappeared. About 3 or 4 years ago, in August, in the last meeting, the council that was giving them the hall didn't let him pick up the keys. Didn't let Errol pick up the keys for the thing. So the three of us that were there were all stuck outside. So the last meeting essentially was outside. It wasn't great.
Well, that was a shame. I know Errol was hoping to run the website for some continual time, and everything will be downloaded, but I've just not heard anything. Anyway, then 2 other quickies. TRS-80 GP. Oh, what can I say? I borrowed my granddaughter's Raspberry Pi 400, and it actually runs TRS-80 GP. Absolutely super. It's unfortunately the Raspberry Pi's had to go back, but my daughter and granddaughter are going away on holiday in a fortnight, so I've been promised I can look after the Raspberry Pi while they're away. So I'm trying to get it to work, to load from the actual window, the desktop side of thing. It works fine loading it from the terminal, but I just haven't cracked how to do it. I've had a message from the Raspberry Pi user group with some ideas, so I'm going to have a play at that, but it's going to be in another fortnight. So hopefully I'll get something in for TRS 8-bit. And finally, sorry to hold the show, finally, just a total disaster to report. I was attempting to read the digital tapes from my Aquilab floppy tape, very much like the Exatron. So the idea was I was going to read it through an old-fashioned tape recorder, record it as a WAV, and convert the digital sound into a WAV. But unfortunately, when I put it through the tape recorder, it just shed the oxide completely. There was virtually no oxide left on the actual wafer. So that was a disaster, but we will attempt another one as soon as I feel more encouraged. Okay, thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Dusty. Good on you, mate.
Dusty, you have to try baking those tapes.
It's too easy to end up with a molten tape mess in your oven.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're 2 millimeters wide. Yeah, and of course, the wafers I've got, I've about 20 now, 20 something, 22, 23. There were 2 sorts, the original sorts with a black plastic innard, and a secondary load with a light blue innards. And the light blue ones in the UK were renowned for shedding oxide even in the day. So basically, I don't think we've got any chance with those. But I had a damaged small black 10-foot wafer, and I just wondered if that was my first thing, as the thing was that the tape had broken, so it was just going to be as an experiment. But as I say, that one was shedding the oxide faster, you were having to blow it away practically. That was a bit of a disaster, that. But I haven't tried that. I'll perhaps think about that one then, Pete, and give it a whirl.
I've tried playing with those in the past, and they have the same problem. They just shed, and the tape splice comes apart. Pretty much once that happens, trying to put them back together doesn't really work out too well. So they're kind of lost to history in the case of some of the ones I have in my collection, unfortunately.
Yes, it's the same in the UK. They weren't, they just sort of timed themselves badly. I mean, it was a super little bit of kit when it first came out, but it was just at that point where discs prices dropped right down just as the floppy tape was starting to get live. But the super thing I was trying to save, there's 3 pieces of software. There was Electric Pencil written for the floppy, Scriptsit, and an upgraded version of BASIC called XBAS, and that really was quite superb. It was better than TRS-DOS with the facilities office, and it all ran in 16K. You can't believe it, can you? But that's my intention, trying to get these things up and running, because as you were saying, Paul, once they're gone, these are going to be lost permanently, aren't they? There's so few about now.
Exactly. They come apart worse than 8-track tape cartridges do, audio 8-track tape cartridges. But at least those are wide enough to try to fix them. I know there's websites out there where people fix 8-track tapes, but I've unsuccessfully tried to fix a couple of them when the splice breaks, and it just no success.
They're too thin. They're too thin. What are they, like 1/16 of an inch or something? In width?
Yeah, I think, like Dusty said, I think they're like 2 millimeters. They're really not. They're just
Audio tapes kind of only just lend themselves to cutting and splicing, but these stringy floppy tapes are practically impossible.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just
cool.
Get a good out of one, and then that's that.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for that, Dusty. Well, since we were just talking to Paul, what's happening, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Just doing a lot of hardware future proofing, I guess you'd call it. Recapping of power supplies on a couple of my floppy disk drives, just have them ready to go. And about to do the same one monitor I've got. After 41 years or whatever it is old on the date on it, I think they're kind of past their prime. So got a little HDMI to composite adapter going on for a modern monitor while I've got the real one down, and that's about it.
Cool. Oh, good to hear you keeping busy. You going to be making it to Tandy Assembly?
It's not looking likely this year. Just coordinating the time off and for it in time with my work just isn't going to happen. So.
Oh, good. Good thing about Tandy Assembly, there'll always be another one. So
I'll be there.
Cool. Thanks for that, Paul. Moving right along, Eric. Hey, mate.
How you doing? I haven't been up to much lately that I can think of. Just busy with work. So
I've been busy with work too. Be ready for your long drive north soon, so that will be fun.
Yeah, cool. Load up and drive up.
Yep. Sweet. All right. Take care.
What do you, Eric? Do you have ideas of what you're exhibiting this year?
Well, I know, one thing Patrick wanted me to bring the box up to show, so I'll be meeting up with him at some point before I leave to bring that. And other than that, I mean, I've had a few ideas, but I haven't. I need to get a move on because I need to finalize it soon. Decide what I'm going to show. So if there's any suggestions.
Tech Talk this year, this time around, Eric, or?
No.
Nope. We came and aced it the first time, eh?
Yeah, why mess with perfection?
I'd still like to see a playback of that one. I know it exists, but you know, I thought it was good. I thought it was good, but I want to see if my memory you know, matches up with how it actually came out. If I got a few chuckles from people, that's probably what I was aiming for. Mine was ours was interesting, but also intermixed with some light entertainment. So
Maybe since you're not going to be there this year, we'll replay it at the end of summer.
well, Eric and I would need to review it first and see if it's worth doing that. Or hey, Eric, I mean,
Yeah. I think we need to get the that Sheldon, the Big Bang Theory show where Sheldon was on the computer,
on the laptop, on the robot.
We'll have you, Ian, on that, and you'll be on the podium.
Can I be as nasty as Sheldon?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Nasty and needy. All right, cool. Thanks for that, Eric. Rob Carnegie, how's Canada?
Well, we're supposedly having a heat wave here, and there's all kinds of health warnings and everything out. But those who know
What's it
me,
going to hit 27? Is it?
Yeah. Well, it hit 40 in June, and it still wasn't quite warm enough for me. The people who know me really know that my blood is about as thick as air. So I walk around in the summer with a sweater on and 2 pairs of socks. The only time I ever feel really warm is I've been to DEF CON in Las Vegas a couple of times in August. That's perfect. Like, you know, it's about a Fahrenheit 190 or something. And
119, not 190. 190, you'd be dead even if you like the heat. But I get what you say. You meant 119.
Yeah.
Super dry. Super dry.
Yeah. That's just
dry heat.
Just awesome by my standards. But at any rate, I have finally achieved a real milestone in my Tandy experience, and I'm going to see if I can share the screen here just to show you what that milestone was. It's modest. And so that's my TRS-80 Model 1 running Android NIM from loading using playcasts off of computer acting as a cassette player. For me, it is a really meaningful accomplishment because I've wanted to, actually I'm just going to try to get back. How do I unshare? Oh, I see it. Stop share. First personal computer I ever saw in my life was at a local Radio Shack store. Even though I didn't probably look like I could afford to buy one, the guy in the store actually gave me a copy of the full brochure, which you can see I still have all these years later. I just looked at it again just the other day, and I was amazed that, you know, they would hand this thing out and it dedicates like the full first page just to telling you what a computer is. And you don't actually hear anything about Radio Shack's offering until you get to page 8, and they finally start talking about what their computer is. And it just sort of, you know, reflects the times that, you know, at that point, a computer was a problem looking for a solution, or a solution looking for a problem, I guess is the proper way to say it. I didn't wind up owning a TRS-80 until a Model 1 until 2016, and I you know, struggled to figure out whether the problems I was having were the problems with the TRS-80 itself or with other hardware. My objective was to run programs on tape because my first computer, that was all I had. It was an Apple II, but audio cassette was my only storage source. And you know, now that we've got storage that we're practically swimming in, you know, there's still a small joy that I get from when a computer loads something from an audio cassette. You know, first of all, miraculous that there's something on the screen, but just that it worked. And so at the end of every 3-4 minute wait while the cassette player is running, there is either a disappointment or a surprise. And with a lot of systems that Apple no exclusion, the surprises were much rarer than the disappointments were. So when you actually did successfully load something, you opened a bottle of champagne, you invited the neighbors over, things like that. So, anyways, thanks to Ian for helping me achieve that. He helped me out with sorting out a hardware problem, which I don't even know the answer to yet. But the old board is on its way to you in the mail. So I'd love to hear. It's entirely possible that there's nothing wrong with it, and I just lucked out this time and made it work, or I don't know. But at any rate, I was able to load Android NIM. I remember being hugely impressed by the program the first time I saw it back in the 80s. And, now it's just a small joy to stand there and watch the Androids all looking at each other.
Did you make the composite cable?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
Yeah, I made both the video cable and the cable for the hooking the cassettes up, and I spent several days trying to decide whether or not I counted the pins correctly in making the cable for the cassette. Did I really have the cassette connected to the the right jack, to finally have it all go together. I actually wrote down, I put colors on things and wrote down what everything was so that I can reproduce this accomplishment in the future.
Someone was once, confused about making a cassette cable and approached me for information, and that they had the same question: how do you count the numbers on the DIN cable? And I said they're actually embossed very lightly, but they're embossed on the back side, the solder side. Sometimes you need a magnifying glass with a light in it to see them, but they're actually printed in there. So that's one thing. I think the cheaper the DIN plug, the more difficult it is to read the numbers of the pins. But the numbers are definitely in there. But
those things are the biggest pain in the ass to solder.
Yeah, that's on my list. I don't believe there's a good video out there that shows how to make one of those. You can find the diagrams online, but I don't think there's a good video. Mav has a great video on making the composite cable, but I don't think for making your own cassette jack, there's actually a video. So,
well, and I kind of
for somebody in the group to knock that out.
I started out with either a keyboard extension cable for an IBM PC or a MIDI cable, I can't remember which, and just cut the thing in half and used one end for the video and the other end for the cassette.
You see, that's smart. That's good. I like that. You see, stupid people like me buy the 5-pin DIN connectors and then attempt to solder them with my eyesight leaves a little bit to be desired. So I actually have to lean back, and it's very difficult. But one thing I noticed about DIN connectors and the soldering of them is there seems to be a large number of cheap ones around. I have no problem with cheap stuff per se, but the plastic that holds the pins melts very easily, and that's the big problem with soldering these DIN cables. Now, I thought for a long time this is just how it is, and then at one point my electronic surplus supply place sent me a bunch of high quality ones, clearly made of a much more robust plastic, and you could heat the crap out of them as you do, and it didn't end up melting enough to dislodge the pins or anything. So there are quality levels in DIN connectors. Unfortunately, that most of what's available at the moment are the cheapest ones with the softest plastic. So you've got to really go easy on it. But I've gotten to the point where I will solder one connection, make sure it's solid, and then give it 5 minutes before moving on to the next one, so that it doesn't generate too much heat in there and start melting the plastic. But that makes for a very long time to make a cable, and those know me. I make a lot of stuff in the limited amount of time I have per day. So
a lot of my solutions come from the fact that the nearest electronic supply house to where I live is about an hour and 30-minute drive. And so, you know, I get desperate. And if I can find something around the house that comes close, then I get out my wire cutters and start to improvise.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. My favorite thing is for electronic supply places is to find those old dingy ones that have a surplus room with stuff covered in dust out the back. If they'll let you go and raid that stuff, you can find some great stuff for the era of computers that we work on. I don't mind driving an hour and a half to a place if I'm going to fill the boot, or we call it the boot, the trunk of my car full of stuff. Eric, you may remember that place in Dalton. That was fun as. It's a shame we can't do that again because it's now condos. But what was it called? It had a really distinctive name.
Mendelssohn's.
Yeah. The room there was quite incredible. I wish I'd taken some photos actually. It's like a room that takes up a quarter acre. All right. Just before I wanted to mention about the brochure you showed before, Rob, the original one. Yeah, that one. I like how they've gone from fairly modest, which was, you know, just talking about the computer and you know, by page 8 they mentioned Radio Shack's product, to within 5 years their brochures were saying, hey, we're the biggest name in little computers. So they sort of realized they were onto something in that 5 years. So they
and I actually kept every catalog because they had a separate computer catalog each year, so I kept every one that I laid my hands on. You know, as they added more computers in their product lineup, the catalog kept getting thicker and thicker.
We got those catalogs here. We got special local Australian versions of it because we didn't get the whole hardware and software library that the United States got. So we got our own ones, and I actually attempt to bring one or two of those to every Tandy assembly and put it in the auction, and people who sort of are collectors sort of realize, hang on, this is not from this country. This might be one of a handful of them that have made it from Australia to the US. So that's another reason for people to go along for the auction, all the weird stuff.
And you'll find that in this first one you held up, Rob, the Australian version of that, there's a picture of a certain person. No, the first catalogue that you held up.
The gold coloured one.
The gold coloured one here. That came out just after I left Tandy, and they took photos of most of the stuff in the room there. I think it's only available on the Australian. Yeah, the Australian one.
The Australian one has got a photo of Aaron somewhere in it.
There's actually two photos of me.
You're famous, Aaron.
Scan that in.
I think I've got a copy of it somewhere.
One of the catalogs described a product that I never actually saw in a store, and it was a printer for the TRS-80 that somehow took the contents of the video display and dumped it out onto a printer by connecting to the computer through the video display. It didn't actually receive data from the computer. It somehow converted the video image into a printout, and so it would work with any computer, I presume, doing a video, a composite video output. But I never saw one in a store, and I've never seen one since. But it'd be pretty cool to see one of those things working.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'd say you're probably talking about the screen printer, and Peter's got both of them. There's two versions of it. Peter, of course, has both.
Oh wow.
But I don't know that they use a video signal. They did connect to the bus and what they did was just quickly scan the video memory locations and then arrange them and spit them out on aluminized paper. So
Okay.
they were overpriced and not particularly good printers. I mean, they're a good conversation point. That's if someone wanted to set up a display one year for shits and giggles, you could probably someone could probably bring a screen printer, a quick printer 1, a quick printer 2, a TP10, and just sort of, you know, put a display of Tandy's crappiest printing device.
Maybe I'll bring one of my screen printers this year, because I came into a roll of the aluminized paper, so I have some extra, so I can do some printouts.
Yeah. Well, I've never actually even heard one run, though. I've anecdotally, people have said they scream. So they call it the scream printer as well as the screen printer. So I'd be keen to see one of those suckers in action. Probably quickly realize why they were not that popular, and as soon as people could upgrade to something else, they did.
Rob reminded me of something we were joking about on the Discord the other day about early marketing of the computers, and they were telling us what we were going to use computers for: recipes and balancing your checkbook and biorhythms.
Yeah,
right. We were supposed to use computers for all of this, and nobody ever used them for any of that. That was funny.
Yeah, I put a biorhythm program in. It took like a very long time and they have a lot of math in them, so I found it interesting. But then didn't run it for as long as it took to type it in. So that's
I never understood it. Like all I ever saw was sine waves, right?
Sine waves are cool.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen it, they have one at the Computer History Museum in California of the Honeywell kitchen computers, as they were called. And it was a computer that was sort of stylized for being perfect in the home. And I think the top of the casing doubles as a cutting board. And people have joked that it made a far better cutting board than a computer. The main application for it was recipes, but it had a binary interface, so you would only putting one character at a time into it and only getting out one character at a time. So I think you could probably cook almost anything in the length of time it would take to get a detailed recipe out of this thing.
Recipe thing was just a scam to give the male an excuse with his wife to buy the computer.
Yeah.
Honey, you can do recipes. Come on.
But was this an actual product, or is it more just a speculation? For
they apparently did appear in the Neiman Marcus catalog. I used to work for Honeywell back in the day, so that's my connection to it. But the belief is that none of them were ever sold. They were offered for sale, and it was the insides of it were a computer that you could buy in a more kind of executive or business looking casing. But this was in the late 1960s, I think, and they were never able to successfully get anyone to shell out the, what was it, $15,000 or $20,000 they wanted for the thing back when you could buy a house for $20,000.
Yeah, and the upgrades of the ashtray and the brandy decanter were not popular either.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. I think that's everyone except for Stuart. Stuart, did you want to say anything? Stuart Feldham.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I just had I'm trying to I've been trying to fix this tape for the whole time we've been talking, so I just been concentrating on that. First, just taking it apart because the pad was off, and then just trying to load properly. But a couple things. First of all, I really enjoyed Peter Phillips's discussion of fixing that game, and I commented on the YouTube before I got on the Zoom. So thank you for that. I definitely would like to get a copy of that map. It looks like you spend a huge amount of time on it, so please don't let it get lost, but upload it somewhere minimal. And I'd love to get a copy and try out the game. I also wanted to mention that I bought a case of what's it called? One of those cassette holders off eBay last week. because I had a bunch of chroma set tapes, like the successor to these C-loads for the color computer, and I wanted to put them in a binder. And I got it for like the starting bid, which was $20, and it came with a bunch of tapes in there. When it came in the mail, I realized it was from Peter Sutinski, who sent it to me. And so actually, first of all, they came with a bunch of tapes. Most of them were like not original tapes, but I was actually curious if any of them worked, because there was, one of them said like code in development or something on it, and one of them said just like Joe's cartoons, or something like that. So I was really curious if I can actually load any of them, and none of them actually worked for me, at least. The only thing that actually got to work at all that wasn't an original tape was an audio recording of some guy making a phone call that was very short. But I was curious, Peter, when you mailed me that stuff, did you actually try it all first before you sent it out, or you just?
No, I didn't try any of those.
Okay.
It came in a pack. So none of the tapes worked?
Well, one of them was clearly like broken because someone had shoved it into the holder, and the tape was actually coming out of the cassette, and it was like jammed in there in some weird way. And like I knew that one wasn't going to work, but I wasn't able to get anything usable of any of the non-original tapes. But I mean, if I would have tried harder, it's possible. But I was like, you know what, Peter probably already mined this for anything good anyway, so I'm not going to waste too much time on it. But
No, I actually didn't. So maybe there's some. I don't know if there's anything of value there or not.
Probably not, but anyway, I did try. Aside from that, I'm planning on streaming. Actually, I streamed Android Nim like a couple weeks ago, and it was a very basic game, so people actually watched it, so that was cool. And I'm planning on streaming this classic either tonight, after this, if I feel up to it, or maybe tomorrow. I never played this game, but it's one of those classic adventures for that Radio Shack put out, and hopefully it's good. And well, we'll see. My expectations aren't too high, but at least want to do my bit to preserve it for other people to see. So that's what I'm up to.
Are you going to use that one tomorrow?
Say it again.
Are you going to use it tomorrow?
It might be right after this. Like it depends if I get the C-load tape working in quick enough order, then I might do it tonight. It's only like I shouldn't say only, but it's like 10:15 p.m. here, so the night is still young on a Saturday night. So it might be tonight, if not tomorrow.
Okay.
But that's it for me. Thanks, Mal. And you're on mute.
Copies of Raka 2 about. So they sold them by the bucket load. Must have been cheap or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's about like it says basically you're in India. It's really weird actually. The introduction's like a page long. You're in India, and you're trying to, or Nepal, and you're trying to find some lost treasure, and then like you decide to go off on your own without your guide or whatever else. It sounds like Infocom's Infidel a little bit, and it came out in 1982, so there's definitely some inspiration from Infocom in there. I mean, it's before Infidel, I think, but there's like more than 2-word sentences, which is actually interesting for a game, like an adventure game on the TRS-80. And then the back of the manual has like a section that it says for hopeless situations only, and it's actually they want you to tear it up and like slip. You can't actually open this page without tearing it, or you can try to look through on the bottom or something, but it has some basic hints in there, so we'll see if I need those or not, but I'm going to try it out and see.
Is that for 16K or 4K?
Yeah. 16K, I think it says. And
okay.
It's Model 3 or level 2 16K, yep.
Yeah, you might be able to spend some considerable time on it. That's amazing what they did on those 16K text adventures.
I'm not expecting too much because there's another game that Radio Shack put out, Pyramid 2000, which is basically just a ripoff of Colossal Cave, and it makes you think it's a new game, but it's not. So I have no idea what to expect of this yet, but like I said, hopefully it'll be good. And the nice thing is people actually like get interactive with, some people join the live streams and they actually like play along, and it's like people that wouldn't play TRS-80 games otherwise. So even when I played Micro Chess, there was some couple people who played along, which I found really interesting, but at least we're having fun together. That's the idea.
Yeah. Hey, on a non TRS-80 thought pattern, does anyone remember that? Does anyone LOL, laugh out loud? That scene on The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon talks about playing Zork for the text adventure enthusiasts. He's holding a party there, and they're trying to decide which game to play, and he suggests Zork. So I just thought, yeah.
I don't think I ever saw that. I got to look it up because I'm big into Zork, but I don't think I ever saw that one.
And one punchline at the end, I think he said like, and it runs on the most powerful GPU.
Your mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure Zork is too much of a party game, but you know.
I don't think any of the games he suggested in that scene were party games, but yeah, it's one of the classic lines out of that show. So yeah, good on you, Stuart. We'll look forward to watching that. So yeah, thanks for that. I think that's everyone. Did anyone felt that they've been missed out on, or I haven't got around to you, or got anything else you want to add?
Peter, how's your garage sale going?
Well, mine.
My garage sale?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I posted that on Facebook with a bunch of pictures to say, and I mentioned that I am seriously thinking about selling at least off the computers that are in my garage. And I was very surprised at the number of people who said they would actually come to New York, or people who are local to the area and are interested in buying one. So I am seriously considering doing that. And those people that did reach out on the Facebook post, eventually I will probably reach out to some of them as I decide how and when I'm going to sell these things. So we shall see.
Thank you for your public service by posting that. We've all shown that to our wives, and now our collections are not looking nearly so bad as they were. So that was big thanks, Peter. Big thanks.
It looked like you're about to have a small coronary there, Peter, as you were saying that you're going to let some of your collection go. I worried about you for a moment then. What's this about?
Yeah, I need my garage space back. So, and we're eventually going to move out of the house and downsize, you know. So I need to start planning for that. The kids are grown now, and where we're living, the taxes are very expensive because of the school district, and there's no reason for us to pay those kind of taxes when we don't have kids in school anymore. So, you know, all these thoughts are going through my mind.
Yeah, well, it's a good age to be planning for your forever house. I know what that's like.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cool. Oh, by the way, Peter, I've got, just in case you're wondering where I'm up to. Yeah, so that's you wanted some key switches from this bad boy. Is that right?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I need a few of those.
It's actually one of the well, for the trivia buffs out there, this is actually one of the Alps keyboards that came without the keypad in it. So it's got the empty holes there from where the keypad could have been added if the owner wanted to add a keypad to their Model 1. There's a misconception out there that early on no Model 1s came with keypads, and then after a while all of them did, but that's not true. It was an option and available at various times. Towards the end, probably all of the last of the level 2s had keypads with them, but there was definitely a while there mid-production where they came out with no keypad, and it was an $89 little profit maker for Radio Shack to get that added to your Model 1. So nice work, Radio Shack. Love your work.
Matt, what's the secret to getting those key switches out of there easily? Because trying to do it without snapping off a little piece of the plastic tabs seems almost impossible.
Well, you unsolder the things at the bottom, you unsolder the low, make sure that those are moving free. And I use some very fine screwdrivers, like chopsticks, to push in both of the tabs, which are spring loaded, in as far as possible. And then if it's one of the keys around the edge that you can get some leverage from an adjacent hole underneath it, that will usually get it out fairly cleanly. But I managed to do it all right these days. But I've had people send me keyboards where they've not known what they're doing, and I have a bunch of broken tabs that retain the key in. But the thing I think is that the two tabs that you have to push in, you have to push fairly hard on them, that they go in further than they look like they should, and then the key switch will come up. If you're being too soft with it, that's how you actually break them. So, but anyway,
I use a tweezer like you do, and I find that if I have like a dental pick, I can slide it under there and just wedge it up a little, and then it'll come right out.
Yeah, yeah. Also depends how badly they've been submerged in water or
Right.
other things. I've seen some terrible ones, and if the metal frame that holds them is corroded, it can be a real pig to get them out. But anyway, yeah, I'll sort that out for you, Pete, this week sometime.
Thank you, sir.
Any last words? It's coming up to 1.5 hours. I think we've done pretty well tonight. So
Yeah, I should. Dusty mentioned running TRS-80 GP on the Raspberry Pi, and you won't be able to do that quite yet. But the next version will come with the Raspberry Pi version, both a 32-bit for the default Raspbian OS, and a 64-bit that runs under Ubuntu on the Pi.
Yay!
Cool. You're going to give us an update next month?
Yeah. It's
Now you committed to it, so.
Well, it's working now, and it's sort of just become that the Raspberry Pi has risen to sort of a good enough level that it can deal with the slight pig that is TRS-80 GP. So it would run on the 3, but not at full speed, which is kind of sucky.
Right. Cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. What do you reckon? Another 4 or 5 weeks' time, Pete?
Last Saturday of every month. That's been the routine. So we'll do it again next time.
Sweet. All right. Night, everyone. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Take it easy.
All right.
Nice to see you all.
Good night.